As I go through life, it's an endless stream of special moments and hopes and dreams. I hear a song and it calls to me about the ones I love, friends and family. It's always good to know I'm on my way home. I got you on my mind wherever I roam. So many ups and downs, but there's one thing I know. I'll be with you soon, I'm on my way home. I'll be with you soon, I'm on my way home.
Welcome to this LinkedIn Live conversation. We're so glad you're here. We are using conversations like this to bring you meaningful discussions on a variety of topics, and we hope you learn something from the experts you meet all along the way. We encourage you to enjoy the conversation by joining in either the comments or asking questions you might have. My name is Tim Ingram, and I'm on the business development team at Axxess. And today, I'm happy to sit down with Patricia Drea, a home care industry veteran who served as the Chief Operations Officer for an enterprise home care organization for many years. She's going to give her advice on management strategies to grow your home care business. It's a timely conversation because this market is primed for growth. Let me introduce you to our expert. Patricia Drea is a Senior Vice President at Axxess and has held leadership positions in many home care companies. She has also led a National Home Care Association as its chair. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, it's great to see you and great to be part of this important conversation.
Yes, thank you, Pat. Let's start with a broad question, but I'm sure it's one that many home care business owners would appreciate, especially new home care business owners. What's the biggest piece of advice you could share to those new owners of this industry?
For many of us, we do have the successful template for operating our home care business right in front of us. If we're franchisees, or if we're part of a networked home care company, we already have those success tips as part of our onboarding and our ongoing support. If you're operating solo, you will need to engage with a lot of the resources that are out there for the entire industry. Mm-hmm. So I want to say that what's very important about using this initial information about how to operate and how to conduct the functions all home cares have to do requires us to be very good students, to learn it and to act like a beginner. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was in a franchised, very large franchised company, we were recruiting some really exceptional owners with extraordinary business expertise, with extraordinary skill sets, and that came from a long and high success track in the industries that they were coming from. But the interesting thing was that some of them had a tendency to be, to want to innovate and invent from day one and find a new and better way. But we did find that that wasn't a good strategy, and we help people understand the crucial importance, even for experienced business people, to be a good student and to follow what's tried and true in the industry. For those people who really couldn't help themselves, they were delayed in their growth, delayed in terms of getting their operations smoothed out and running properly by sometimes a year or two or more, until they realized that the answers were there in the very beginning. And they would then become very faithful to the template that works all the time. So for those of you who really want to be creative, wait, just wait, because until you're at a steady 1,000 hours per week, it's not time to innovate yet. You can innovate, and there are lots of opportunities for creativity later. Focus on the core areas of operating your business, stay faithful to that, be a good learner, and stick to improving those functions and getting them operating smoothly for the size business you have. And then there's time later to become innovative and creative.
Thank you, Pat. That's interesting insight. And we know it takes a lot of leadership and management to grow a home care business, particularly with managing your caregivers. So how should an owner, maybe even a new owner, effectively manage their caregivers during the recruitment stage?
One of the best things to do, and I have 3 important points. Number 1, give them a sense of belonging to your organization. Number 2, be honest with them about the nature of the work, the expectations of the company. And very important, create an atmosphere of excitement. Many of the caregivers that come to us have already worked in other companies. But your particular culture that you have is very important for them to fully understand and to be incorporated into. Because the way you do things and what's important to your company is likely to be very different than a company that they have come from or the several companies that they've come from. And so from the beginning, as they sense belonging to your company and your company culture, and the more effectively you can engage them in that, the better they're going to adjust, the better that they are going to be at becoming engaged and loyal to your company. Sometimes caregivers have unreal or ineffective expectations. And so sometimes what we have to do is 2 things. One is listen carefully to them in terms of what they need, in terms of what's important to them, in terms of their life and how they can best work with you. And we need to listen carefully to that. And then secondly, we need to tell them the elements of getting the work that they like and that they want and that will pay them well and fairly. And to be able to adjust to be able to meet those particular personal goals. And I think that this is here the place where we need to be very honest with them. If somebody wants to make a significant salary at the higher level of what caregivers can earn, that is going to come with committing themselves to hours.
It sounds like what you're talking about is, in essence, what I heard was creating this culture of belonging where they get excited about what they're doing, which I think would lead to them accepting the hours then when you ask them to do that. And that actually leads into the next question that I want to talk about, which is an important tool that we believe is underutilized at Axxess. And because it's underutilized, Axxess created the Axxess certification program, which marries industry expertise alongside Axxess solution training to provide continuing education and development. And I'm curious, Pat, if you could tell us or share some ideas about leadership and management during training and why that is particularly important.
Better engagement is crucial to caregiver involvement and performance. And one of the things that we have learned along the way and gotten much better at is engaging with the caregivers on a personal level. By getting to know the caregivers and showing a personal interest, we get to know a little bit about their families, a little bit about their lifestyles, a little bit about what's important to them. And in doing so, we are better able to communicate and cultivate that relationship, because we do know that this is a relationship business, and every aspect of our business that we want to engage with and do better depends on how effective we are in building those relationships. So something as simple as on the first day that a caregiver is working for us, we are calling them during their case assignment, finding out how it's going, and then calling them at the end of the assignment when they're no longer there. And in that way, we can find out how things are going. But even more important than that, or as important, is also getting to know them and getting to know how it's gone and showing them that we really care. One of the other ways that we have found to engage with our caregivers effectively is making calls to them once or twice a week and simply asking a question like, how are you? How's your family? How's your life going? Just a personal question that doesn't have anything to do with work. And this is also a demonstration that we care.
Pat, thanks for that insight, Pat. I heard a lot of relationship and engagement, which really leads into the next question. When caregivers have an emotional stake in what they are doing, it makes a significant impact, not just for them, but also for the families and the clients that they're engaged with. How can home care business owners manage their caregivers to promote better engagement?
There are a lot of things that are a part of the everyday questions, conundrums, challenges that caregivers face. Interestingly enough, when I first came into this industry, even though I had been a nurse for a good long time, I was given an assignment as a caregiver in the home with a client who had no idea that I was a registered nurse. And my job was to follow the care plan, engage with the client, and be able to do all of those tasks. It was a humbling experience. Despite the fact that I had worked in intensive care, coronary care, emergency room, and psychiatry, here I was in a new place, engaging in a relatively new way. And yes, I was using skills that I had developed, but I was facing brand new challenges. And so it is with our caregivers. In the assignments that they face, we need to understand where the challenges are and learn how they're approaching them, congratulate them for the ways that they're effective in dealing with those, and give them some of the tips that we have learned about how to navigate through a day, navigate with a client, and meet their personal expectations as well as the families, and get the job done and get it done well. So I think knowing all of how to segue through all those challenges, engaging with the caregivers and keeping the motivation going and letting them know where they're doing a spectacular job is very important to caregiver retention. And here is the other thing. We need to have an environment of celebration.
I want to make sure I get this right. So there is proposed legislation for this next question. There's proposed legislation that would mean great news for home care owners, and specifically those that serve a Medicaid population. And it's referred to as the Direct Care Opportunity Act, which would offer grants for organizations to recruit, train, and retain direct care workers. We do have additional information about this on our Axxess blog page, but a question around that, Pat, is how would this opportunity fit into managing caregivers? And more specifically, how can business owners use the grant money for the best outcomes?
Now, the grants are going to be given away based on strategies that people are going to propose to recruit caregivers. And those people who demonstrate an implementation model that will make the home care more desirable are the people who are going to land the grants. But we know that the workforce that we're looking at are very vulnerable to low wages, the difficult working conditions, and they themselves have economic insecurity. And we do know that 9 in 10 direct care workers are women. Half of them are people of color, and a quarter of them are immigrants. So again, this poses the question, how can we engage with this population and make it possible for them to become effective, engaged workers, caring for this very important and growing population that we're serving? We also do know that this sector of the workforce suffers from higher injury rates because they're in direct contact with clients, they're doing lifting, they're doing housework, they're doing all the things that it takes to keep things going in a household for a few hours, a few days a week, or continuous round-the-clock service. So we recognize that lower pay rates also tends to be a barrier. So paying attention to raising the rate above the median rate of $13 would be a strong enhancement to recruitment of caregivers. We need to support the health and welfare of those that are our workers. We need to enhance their language skills. We need to become a recruitment machine that has a high potential of engaging caregivers and gaining their loyalty and staying with the workforce and not going on to other jobs such as the fast food, which is one of the greatest numbers of people who go to because they make the same amount of money and don't have as many of the demanding hours. And the college credit for learning, we know, already has extraordinary potential. And we're starting to hear about home care industry executives who have already figured out ways of gaining college credit so that our caregivers can advance in their learning objectives as well.
Pat, that's interesting. That your answer really leads into the next question, and that's around hours management. How can owners effectively and efficiently manage their hours, but at the same time still provide client satisfaction?
I'm going to take you back to something that I said to every single one of my initial franchisees that I trained when they came on board. You may think that you don't want to invest in software, in technology, but I'm here to tell you that you must at the very beginning. And here's why we know that. The investment is a crucial investment for you to make, because without that crucial investment, before you start your first client, you're going to be missing the timing, the grip, the grasp. Things are going to be falling apart from the very beginning. You can't keep all this information in your head, and you can't manage it effectively unless you are using technology effectively. What we learned with those 650 franchisees, anybody who failed to bring on board an appropriate technology solution for managing those core areas lagged behind the others who did by 2 to 3 years in their growth.
Wow.
In addition, they suffered a great deal in terms of managing their office because they didn't have the data available to coach and to help their team be able to manage each of those functions. So I'm here to tell you from personal experience how important it is to manage each of those core functions and use the dashboards that are available through the appropriate use of the technology solution.
Wow, Pat, you've really given us some good insights into better managing both our clients and our caregivers and being able to grow our home care business at the same time. And I guess my last question is, how can owners better manage it all? You just listed a number of things to focus on, but what's the balance that needs to happen to keep that business growth funnel full?
Why do managers burn out? They burn out because they don't have access to the tools. And we do have those tools. When we use the technology in the proper way, and when the technology keeps being improved to meet the new demands, and boy, do we know new demands over the last 15 months. We are well acquainted with those. And that's why we're having such important discussions in this industry about how to use and update and upgrade all the solutions that are available to meet the new needs. And actually, Tim, That's not the question you were going to ask me, but that is why I'm at Axxess.
Wow, Pat, this has really been an informative discussion today. And as you were talking about those calls, I almost felt like I needed to ask if I could come work for you. So thank you for your insights and sharing about leadership today. I really appreciate your time. The link to more information on the Direct Care Opportunity Act is available in the chat here, and I recommend reading up on this potential legislation because it will be a boost for home care organizations if it passes. We've also shared a link to learn more about the Axxess certification program. Thank you all for joining Axxess on this LinkedIn Live conversation today. We will bring you more discussions like this, so be sure and stay tuned in to our LinkedIn page for our next broadcast. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about Axxess and our enterprise solutions, visit axxess.com. Have a great day, everyone.
It's always good to know I'm on my way home. I got you on my mind wherever I roam. So many ups and downs, but there's one thing I know. I'll be with you soon, I'm on my way home. I'll be with you soon, I'm on my way home.